Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the final knee-jerk stream of the season. Well, there might be a knee-jerk stream next week after the season ends, but obviously that one's a little bit different because there's nothing to talk about for the next week. Game week 37, not quite gone to plan, to be fair, is probably how I would say my week is personally going. I'm on 35 points with a -4, which is a red arrow, and I don't really see it getting any better with the rest of the players I've got. And I've dropped from like 44k to 60k. So I think even the top 50k dream is probably over now. SALIBA's gone off at half time with a 1-pointer. I don't yet know what the issue is with him, but obviously we can assume he's picked up an injury. And Arsenal have got Champions League secure now, so there's no need to risk him next week. ISAK not playing. I've got Evan Nilsson on the bench. Someone's told me that Evan Nilsson wasn't pictured in training the other day. Whether or not he's actually out or not, I don't know. If he is out, then I've got Nico Williams going off the bench for 2 points. So, bit of a disappointing week, but plenty to talk about as always. And I'll answer a bunch of your questions. How many points off top 50k? I'm not sure. I mean, it's still doable for sure in the last week, but game week 38 is not looking as good as it was. And like basically the swing on going the Palmer route instead of the Watkins route now looks really bad because Isak's out, so selling him would have made a lot of sense, especially if he misses game week 38. I'd be up on points, I wouldn't have taken a hit, and I'd just be in a better position for next week. Whereas, Nico Williams, he got 2 bonus, you're right. So Nico Williams would be on 4 points. So not too bad. Yeah, the plan was Palmer to Saka next week, which I guess is still the plan. But if Isak's out, that puts me in a really dodgy position then because I've got Enzo Fernandez on the bench, who I don't particularly want to have to play. The only good news is, if you're relying on Chelsea, Newcastle players, etc., they've got to get a result in the final week. And so Champions League is still not completely secure. So hopefully with Isak, it's like a minor thing, and he'll be back next week. But we'll have to wait and see what Eddie Howe says. Basically, he said Isak travelled to Arsenal, and then last night felt a bit of, I think he said stiffness. And then he had a scan this morning and showed that he had a bit of an issue with his groin. And so they only noticed it kind of last minute. So hopefully he'll be okay next week, but we'll have to see. Okay, I'm so happy I went Isak to Watkins. Yeah, lots of people will. I was pretty torn between the two. Ultimately, I picked the differential route for a hit, and it hasn't gone right. Was Cole Palmer particularly good against Man United? Not really. He could have had an assist. Madueke should have scored. Not long after, I think they got the first goal. I think Madueke had a chance to make it 2. That would have been an assist. He would have matched Watkins. I mean, it's not like... I mean, Watkins was obviously the popular captain, and he only got an assist, so it wasn't like I got absolutely destroyed by that, but... yeah, went the differential route, and sometimes differentials don't pay off. I have serious Palmer and Haaland trust issues after this season. Captaincy swings, etc. really damaged my overall rank. Honestly, I will go into next season thinking that Haaland and Palmer are still really good options. There's nothing to say otherwise, really. Like, Palmer... I mean, we don't know what Salah's going to do against Brighton yet. He could go and score a hat-trick. But as an example, since wildcard 30... Palmer has outscored Salah, and no one's worried about Salah. And I appreciate that Palmer has gone a longer time with very few returns, but this season won't affect how I think of them next season. Ultimately, Game Week 1 squad will be getting as much value as possible, getting the players with the best stats, with the best fixtures that you can make out of a £100 million budget. And if that includes Haaland and Palmer, they'll be in. And if it doesn't, they'll be out. And it's not really... too much more to it, really. There was a penalty overturned for Chelsea as well. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if Tyreek George gets closer to Onana, then maybe that gets given. But ultimately, it wasn't a penalty. Definitely wasn't a penalty, so that was the correct decision. You know, Enzo almost scored from a Palmer assist, but I think it was offside as well. So it's fine margins. Ultimately, like, I learned this a long time ago. When you create content, you cannot win. If I make the same move as everyone else every single week, that's boring, that's too template. And then as soon as you make a differential move, it's like, what are you thinking? The amount of messages I had on like Instagram and stuff yesterday about Palmer failing, it's just madness. I left Visser on the bench and I had Chris Wood in. I would have probably played Visser, but it's a close enough call. I don't think you made a massive mistake there. At least Visser paid off. Shame you didn't go Mikalenko. Yeah, that was the other option, was to keep Saar, not go for Enzo, and do Munoz to Mikalenko. I spoke about that. Mikalenko finished on an 8-pointer. So if Munoz misses out now, I've got Nico Williams coming off the bench. Not ideal. Some Arsenal fans think the Saliba sub was a tactical sub rather than injury. I don't get that. How can taking off your best defender be a tactical sub? That seems a bit weird. Who's the clean sheet prediction Twitter account? That's Rob T FPL, literally spelt like that. I also captained Palmer after I saw you do it. Was going to captain Salah, so hopefully a blank tomorrow. Don't ever do stuff because I do it. That's not the way to play it. Hang on a sec. I need to turn my fan on. It is absolutely roasting in this office. Yeah, tactical sub for Saliba just makes no sense whatsoever. But I'm just an idiot on YouTube. I'm not a Premier League manager. Calafiori does different things than Saliba in terms of our attacking phase. He changes our left-hand side dynamics quite a bit. Yeah, but would you not take off Kivior? Anyway, we'll see. Arteta will get asked about it after the game. Havertz punt for the Southampton game. Look, there's going to be a lot of punt questions this week, and I think Havertz is definitely in the conversation. But I think for someone like Havertz, I would need to get a leak. Like the Arsenal news just comes out in advance of the deadline and says that Havertz is starting, because ultimately he's been he's been out with quite a, he's been out for a while, is what I'm trying to say, and there's no guarantee he starts next week. Like he's only had like 15 minutes off the bench today. And now Arsenal have got Champions League secure. I mean, they haven't just got Champions League secure, they've got second place secure as well, right? Yeah. No one else can catch them now. So Arsenal could absolutely rotate. Like, the thing is, there'll be a lot of, no, they're definitely going to do, like, they could just play full strength because they've got nothing to rest players for. But also, it's not a home game. So they've said goodbye to the fans today. It's been a long season. They've been knocked out of the Champions League at the semi-final stage. They've got second place. Again, they haven't won the title. Maybe you just give the players a bit of a break. So I don't think it's beyond question, or I don't think it's beyond, the realms of possibility. Like Martinelli gets benched, Saka gets benched next week. It could happen. If I was predicting, I would have Saka starting, I would have Martinelli starting, but it's not a guarantee. But honestly, you can say that about a lot of teams. Like loads of people are going to be looking at Bournemouth players in Game Week 38 because it's Leicester. They're not going to really have anything to play for either, probably, especially if they lose to Man City. I think if they beat Man City, there's still potential for them to get 8th. But with Palace winning the FA Cup, it doesn't really matter as much now. I think someone said that if Chelsea finish 7th and win the Europa Conference League, then 8th will get a European spot. I don't know if that's true. Either way, Bournemouth are not going to have a huge amount to play for, but it's at home. So maybe they do put out a full-strength team. There's going to be some surprises in Game Week 38. There always is. But they're surprises, right? They're not easy to... It's not easy to predict, right? That's why they're surprises. Okay, that is true. Okay, so maybe if Bournemouth beat Man City, then we will see full strength in Game Week 38. So if Chelsea finish 7th, so if they lose to Forest, basically, and the other results go against them, then maybe 8th still gets something. Okay, interesting. If Saka is playing with a knock or something, they won't risk it. Yeah, I mean, Saka is probably still being managed somewhat. Like, he was subbed on the 75th minute. Like, it was only 1-0. Again, Arsenal have already pretty much had Champions League sewn up, even if they drawn today. And I think they only have to draw. So maybe subbing him off at 1-0 wasn't that much of a big deal. Even if Bournemouth lose, they can still get 8, says Harry. That's why you should just follow Harry instead. He knows what's going on. Yeah, fair enough. So Bournemouth probably will go full strength in Game Week 38. So ignore everything I've just said. I've got Evan Nielsen. Hopefully he's going to start. And if we get a leak that Saka's benched, then I might just buy Kluivert instead. What was that Visser goal? That's a guy that wants to hit 20 goals this season. No team wants to get Conference League. That's nonsense. Brighton, Bournemouth, Brentford, they would love Europa Conference League. What one moment will you look back on this FPL season with a glass of red wine? I would never have a glass of red wine in my hand. And let out a little chuckle about. I don't know. I feel like there's so many mistakes this season that I've made. And I don't mean like, you know, really bad mistakes where I just made a really stupid move, but just like small things that have gone kind of just slightly wrong. But you always feel like that when you don't hit the rank you want to hit, right? Like you're always going to feel like that. So I don't know. I certainly won't come away from this season thinking I need to really change too much in how I play. Wildcard 6. Yes, that doesn't. The thing is, Wildcard 6 was amazing if you went for Salah instead of Haaland. So again, it's not always about when you play a chip. It's about which players you pick, right? That's all it always has been about. I still think Wildcard 6 was okay, but I did primarily play it to, or a big part of the reason I played it was to get Salah for I think it was Bournemouth at home, captaincy, instead of captaining Haaland against Arsenal, if I remember correctly. And obviously Salah got like an assist, so it looks stupid. But Salah scores a brace in that game or more, and I get a big captaincy swing out of it, and then I get Haaland back. You know, it all looks a bit different. So I try not to like regret too many moves. I think there's so much hindsight involved, and once you make one move that's slightly different to everyone else, it has a knock-on effect to all your other moves, right? So obviously this week, as many people have told me this weekend, I'm an idiot because I bought Cole Palmer in. If he goes and gets a goal and assist and is suddenly back in form, it just doesn't look so stupid, right? These things happen. Milenkovic and Kukurea from get rid to clutch points. I don't know what you mean by get rid. I don't think either had to be gotten rid of. I actually spoke about Kukurea as a possible defender in. I don't think I would have bought him. I think I would have probably gone Wan-Bissaka or something like that. I think Man United at home, Forest away was all right for Kukurea. He scored 5 goals this season. Same as Vardio. What are the chances that Munoz or Vardio might not play? I think Vardio will play. Man City have to get Champions League. So I think they have to go as full strength as, you know, whatever full strength is for Pep against Bournemouth at home, you know, they will go for it, and that includes Vardio. So I think he will play. Munoz, I just don't know. I said this before the deadline. If Palace win, I think it's all bets are off in terms of trying to predict the clean sheet. I'm sure some of them are still celebrating today. Like, why wouldn't you be? And tomorrow, probably. I doubt there's going to be much training done before Tuesday. Yes, it's the final home game of the season. I completely get that. But I'm guaranteeing you, if you ask a Crystal Palace fan right now whether they care if the final home game they've paid lots of money for a ticket for is a completely rotated side, my guess is they won't care one bit because they've got an FA Cup. What more do they need? So we'll have to see. There's no point worrying about it. We can't change it now. And all I can say is all the same things I said before the deadline. If they win, could be rotation. Glasner often puts out a full-strength side. Defensive-wise, they haven't necessarily got a huge amount of players that can play instead, but there are players that can come in. Like, someone else could play right wing-back instead of Munoz. Someone else can play instead of Eze. Someone else can play instead of Mateta. We'll have to see. Jamie Vardy. I can't believe that's the first time Jamie Vardy's name has been mentioned. I'm so glad he got the goal today. It's perfect. I think he signed for them this day like 13 years ago. He hits his 200th goal for Leicester as captain, their greatest player of all time, in his 500th game. It was perfect. And I don't think he took his shirt off, right? He didn't get a yellow card, which I thought might happen. And he celebrated at the corner flag. So yeah. And again, you know, I often think back to, because obviously when you create content, you get a lot of messages, right? A lot of comments. I often think back to, and certain parts of the season, you get a higher volume of certain comments. And I remember back when I was rolling quite a lot, like when I got up to like 3-4 transfers, I got a few comments like, it's so boring. How can you keep rolling? You're missing out on points. But the funny thing is, if I'd rolled the last 2 weeks, I'd be up on points now and have 3 transfers to spend for game week 38. So again, it's just one of those things, like sometimes you roll and it goes wrong, sometimes you don't roll and it also goes wrong. But basically, the reason I've thought about that is because of Jamie Vardy. Like my plan when Marmoush got when we got that leak that Marmoush bench, my plan was to hold him and sell him to Vardy in 37. I really wanted to be there for the Vardy punt. Although for some people, if they've signed Vardy and they've got ISAK, that now puts a bit of a spanner in the works, doesn't it? Because Vardy's not going to play in 38 and ISAK's going to be a doubt. Better was unlucky to not get a couple of goals today. Yeah, anyone that took that punt was a bit unlucky. Leicester's greatest ever player is Harry. Okay. He has 50 yellow cards as well. It's may as well 5, maybe his lucky number. Why is your Raya only showing a 2-pointer? I just haven't refreshed. I set the stream up earlier on. There you go. Showing a 6-pointer now. Ray he got yellow carded for time wasting. I don't think it knocked him out of the bonus though. I think he's on 1. ISAK to Evan Nielsen might have to happen. -4 might happen depending on mini league rival. If ISAK's out, ISAK to Evan Nielsen will be as template as Mateta to Watkins last week, I think. Why didn't Saliba continue? We still don't know with Saliba. I don't think there's something wrong with Evan Nielsen, but Luke did send me something earlier saying that he wasn't pictured in training, but they don't play till Tuesday, so I wouldn't start panicking about it just yet. Yeah, ISAK to Watkins is not a bad move either. I'm feeling fine about not owning Saka in 38, not going to lie. He just doesn't look that threatening. It's Southampton. Trossard or Kluivert. As it stands right now, probably Kluivert. Yeah, probably Kluivert because I think there's a chance Trossard doesn't start. But let's say it's full strength, then it's Martinelli, Marino possibly, and then Saka. If there's rotation, I guess Trossard will start because he won't have... The thing is, Trossard's played a hell of a lot of minutes because of injuries and stuff. So every time I think he might not play, he just always seems to play. I think I'd go Kluivert, though. Take the penalty taker that's probably more likely to start. And the Saints just drew with Man City. Yeah. I mean, I don't... What's your point? Does that... You think Arsenal are going to struggle? I mean, yeah, you wanted Vardy, but then you wouldn't have had this as 10-pointer. That is a good point. That is a good point. I'll shut up now. In the end, buying Vissa hasn't gone that bad. Although I think overall, even with the 10-pointer today, not buying Vissa would probably mean more points because I would have made other moves. But yes, fair point. Is Saka essential to own? No. Still got triple captain. Is Salah home to Palace a decent shout? Yeah, I think right now my 2 favourite captains are probably Salah and Saka. I've said that for a few weeks now. Worth selling Saliba or use the transfer on a forward? That depends who the forward is that you need to sell, right? For me, when I look at my team for next week, my back 3 is Saliba, Livramento, and Vardio. So Livramento will definitely start. I'm pretty sure Vardio will start. If Saliba's ruled out, I will probably... Do you know what? I'm not 100% sure. Let's say ISAK is fine. If Saliba's ruled out, I could play Nico Williams and sell Palmer as originally planned. Or I could just keep Palmer. Why not? Just see how it goes in the final week against Forest away. It's a big game. Chelsea need to get a good result there. And just sell Nico Williams instead. Or sell Saliba, whatever, right? And get a defender. But the thing is, it's kind of what I said in the run-up to Game Week 37. There's not that many like amazingly attacking defenders that have got great fixtures that are absolutely nailed on. Like, not in the final week. Kirkes, maybe? Could go and buy Kirkes. But I think my preference would be to play Nico Williams and to sell Palmer. But we'll see. It's definitely going to be a more interesting week than I thought it was going to be. Like originally, like on Friday after the deadline, I thought, okay, that's my team. Palmer to Saka, job done, end the season. But yeah, now there's some stuff to think about with potential injuries. It might be that we get to Friday, the press conferences, and we just find out that Saliba and ISAK are fine. But again, it doesn't mean that Saliba's going to start. They've got second place. Does it matter? Does it really matter if they lose or draw on the last day of the season? I was at the game today and Nico Williams is one hell of a player. Yeah, I do feel a bit unlucky not to have had a few more points for him, but is what it is. I haven't actually played him that much either, to be fair. Like for him to blank last week against Leicester, that was just typical. If you have transfers to burn, would you get rid of one of Watkins, ISAK, Vissa for Evan Nielsen? Yeah, I think Evan Nielsen's better than Vissa. So if you've got transfers to burn, I would do that. Is Howson a minutes risk? Conscious he's a good pick, Leicester at home, but also off to Madrid soon. Yeah, I think I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I saw a picture of him on a plane. I don't know if that was just to go and sign the contract. When it was being rumoured that he was going last week, and by rumours, like we pretty much knew it was going to happen, it just wasn't official. Someone said that he wants to play the final 2 games for Bournemouth because obviously they're the ones that gave him the chance. They're the ones that have got him, not the ones that have like done everything to get him to this position. But if he hadn't played so many minutes for them this season, like would he be getting the Real Madrid move? Probably not. So someone said, I think it was just a journalist, that he wants to play the final 2 games. But whether that will happen, I don't know, because Real Madrid want him for the Club World Cup, which obviously starts after the season, but you know, they're going to want him in the squad as soon as possible. So I think he will play. But honestly, if you're not stuck for cash, you should just buy Kerkez instead. I think Captain Bayern might be better last game. Definitely a shout against Ipswich. Who is the most interesting / fun differential pick for the last week? Well, here's the problem, right? You, me, and everyone else is going to be thinking of differentials. It's going to be like Ollie Watkins last week. You know, everyone was going Watkins to be different. In the end, like he had 800,000 transfers in, I think. So if I say to you right now, you know, Evan Nilsson's a massive differential, well, he's also got the most transfers in so far this week. Now it's only 22,000, but that will grow. So if I was thinking about players who I think are differentials that I also don't think many people are going to pick, Martinelli, probably. Maybe. I actually don't know if there's that many others that are kind of under the radar. And even Martinelli's name has been mentioned a few times in the chat. Basically, I guess you want Bournemouth, Arsenal, you know, Kudus, Fulkrug, they start against Ipswich. I mean, in terms of other good... I mean, Liverpool, right? You know, if Trent starts, massive differential. I don't think he will. And then you've got whichever attacker we find out is starting, Diaz, Gakpo, etc. Thoughts on Eurovision? I didn't watch it at all. Like, none of it. Cunha against Brentford? Possibly. Possibly. But I just can't see why you wouldn't go for Evan Nilsson instead. I meant top 50k is now the elite finish, not top 10k. Top 10k is now super elite finish, like top 1k in the past. Maybe, yeah. I think people have been saying that kind of thing for a couple of years. I'd still love to get a top 10k finish soon, but it's been like, this will be 3 seasons now where it hasn't happened. If I can get top 50k, if I can rectify the damage that was done this year, I'd be happy enough with that top 50k this year. Because it hasn't been my greatest season, but top 50k is still not bad at all. Still have my bench boost. Would ISAK and SALIBA be worth -8s? If you're bench boosting and you've got players that are not going to start, I would take hits, yeah. Am I going to do a free hit 38 video? Probably not. Because I doubt there's that many people using the chip. Also, I mean, without getting into, you know, unless there's rotation, I feel like it almost picks itself as well. Like 3 Bournemouth, 3 Arsenal, Bowen. Like that's 7 of your players already. And you just fill in a few of the gaps. In my FPL Cup final, my opponent already had double Bournemouth for 38. Should I match him or back Saka? I mean, Cups. I guess you want to go different to try and win. Like, if you match... Well, it depends. I guess it depends how many other differential players you've got, right? I'd rather have Saka than a Bournemouth midfielder. So I'd just buy Saka, I think. In Burmo, missed penalty was painful. Yeah, I won't lie. I actually had a tweet ready to go because I thought he would score that said something like, all that worry about Watkins or Palmer captain, I should have just left it on in Burmo, which was the plan until I made a transfer. I mean, by the deadline, I was never going for Mbermo, but obviously in the week running up before I made a move, it was on him. And obviously he missed then, and it wasn't such a big score, so I never sent it. 160 manager private league cup semi-final, have an 11-point lead. He's got Salah captain, 8 Nuri and Cunha versus my Salah and De Bruyne. Do I have a chance? Yes. I don't think much of one, though. I mean, De Bruyne is the same as the Palace players, right? He could not start. And every point Salah gets is bad for you. And 8 Nuri and Cunha could be up against a very drunk and rotated Crystal Palace side. So, you've got a chance, but I would probably back. I mean, 11 points on the board is handy, but I think I'd probably back your opponent. Will Saka really... Yeah, we've spoken about Saka. I cannot guarantee you that Saka will start. Let's just say that. Bringing in Vardy feels very annoying all of a sudden now. ISAK could be out. So hindsight is a wonderful thing. But these are the small things. Like, again, this is not hindsight saying you shouldn't have brought Vardy because there could have been an injury. But these are things that we don't always think about. Like, for me, I actually thought that by the deadline, Better would become a better option than Vardy because he's probably going to start in 38. And he was just as good this week. Now, in the end, Vardy outscored him. But it is those little things. Like, I brought Palmer because the rest of my team looked fine. I could easily just go to Saka in 38. But actually, maybe I should have tied some risk to that plan because as soon as I get another injury, I'm stuck with Palmer. So actually, and again, this is hindsight, right? Because Palmer blanked. But maybe I should have just gone straight to Saka. Because if something went wrong in 38, I could have changed it. And I think too often we look at our future team, like future weeks, like, no, team looks fine for this week, fine for that week, fine for that week. I can definitely make the move this week. But as soon as you get an injury or something, the whole plan kind of gets thrown out the window. Just check my live rank, 12.5k with Haaland, De Bruyne, Vardy or Munoz to play, 7 points off top 10. ISAK to Vardy and captain paid off. Very nice. You're definitely possible to get top 10k this week. Then you just got to hold on to it. Are we sleeping on Christian Norgard? No, I don't think so. Woodvisser to Evan Nielsen or Eze to Bowen. Probably Eze to Bowen, I think. I think that's a bigger upgrade. Now, if you're just going to bench whoever you don't sell, then I'd probably rather have Evan Nielsen than Bowen. But I think ultimately selling Eze makes more sense because it's Liverpool away. Raya Southampton or Kepa Leicester? That's a good question. I'd probably go the Kepa. I'd probably go Kepa, I think. But only because I think Arsenal might rotate now, whereas I don't think Bournemouth will. Did Palmer pay me to buy him? No, again, I just took a differential route and they blanked. Players can blank sometimes. In Palmer's case, a lot recently, but you never know, right? Like, I think his effective ownership was something like 15%. I'm happy enough with the shout to go. I knew he was going to be a massive, massive differential, and it didn't pay off. I could have just tried to secure my place in the top 50k, I guess, and just do the move everyone else did, Watkins, but I didn't, and that's fine. That is fine. Obviously, I wished. I was kind of hoping for a Man United 4-3 win, Palmer hat-trick. I actually thought Man United were all right for a while. The problem is they don't create any chances. So when they play okay, they're not actually threatening the other team. And Højlund, like, I really don't like targeting certain players for criticism, but he's not very good. He really isn't. It's hindsight, of course, but Palmer has 0 non-penalty goals in 4 months. Yeah, absolutely. And look, maybe this is a sign of things to come. Maybe Palmer is just terrible now, but I got a suspicion that is not the case. The World Club Cup thing is a farce. No Barcelona or Liverpool. I'm really interested to see how it goes. If I'm honest, I've got very little interest in it right now. Probably partly because Man United aren't in it. But I suspect when it starts, I'll watch it. And maybe it'll be all right. Maybe it'll be all right. But I do think there's such a thing as too much football. I know in the summer, I know every other summer you think, oh, I wish there was some football on. But that's what makes like the World Cup and the Euros and stuff like that so big, is because they're not on all the time. And obviously you can have players get paid so much money. Of course they can just run around and kick a ball for 90 minutes. You know, I could do that. Not me personally, right? But that's what people say. But, you know, they need a break too. The quality of football overall is not going to get better with more matches. So I don't know who the Club World Cup is for, really. Well, I do know who it's for. And I don't think it's necessarily for us. Club World Cup fantasy content incoming. I'm not ruling it out if there's a fantasy game, possibly. But I can't see it being that popular. Like, to put it into perspective, in the UK, like, some of the matches are on Channel 5. And if you're from the UK, you know that means they're not expecting it to be that popular, basically. It was more that we've seen Palmer struggle for months without Jackson in the team. Even when he came back, things didn't get much better. Yeah, by the way, I'm not saying that Palmer was a genius move. I haven't even said that I've been unlucky. I don't think I've said that at all. I'm not trying to claim that, you know, he should have had a monster haul. But I took a punt on a player that's got 200 plus points for the last 2 seasons. I don't think it's a fluke either. Who's nailed on penalties, is pretty good at football, and was a massive differential. Way more differential than Burmo. Like, by a mile, by the way. Way more than, like, in Burmo, Salah, and Watkins. Again, it didn't pay out. I don't know what more people want me to say. I took a punt and it didn't work. I don't know. I'm not really sure what more I can say about it. Best 3 forwards for game week 38. Let's assume everyone's fit. I mean, probably Haaland, right? If I could hand pick, I'd probably go Haaland, Evan Nilsson, ISAK if he's fit. Otherwise, I'm not sure. Visser's probably up there as well this week. Maybe Cunha if we know he starts. Haaland looked average against Palace. Yeah, but I still think if I was going... like, I think the reason that I mentioned Haaland is, again, because he's pretty big differential, and I don't think there's 3 obvious standouts. I think Evan Nilsson is probably the top one. ISAK probably second if he starts, and then you need a third. So why not go for the guy that we know is capable of doing big things, just hasn't done it for a while. Haaland probably back on penalties now. I cannot believe he didn't take that penalty. Seems madness for them to decide something like that on the pitch. Like, maybe it's like an age thing, but I don't know why clubs do that. You've got a penalty taker. That player is your penalty taker. If he misses a few times and you want to switch, fair enough. Sort it out in training. But, like, when Liverpool get a penalty, you know Salah's going to take it. There's no nonsense on the pitch. When Man United get a penalty, you know Fernandes is going to take it. I just feel like that's how it should be. Free hitted 81 this week. Wow, that is massive. You're 50 points more than me. I'm in severe pain. I have Raya and Kivior on my bench. Ouch. But who did you bench him for? Maybe you made an okay decision. It just didn't pay off. Pep looks steamed. Mass rotation, perhaps. He will definitely make changes. For sure. But he always does that, right? So I don't think it's necessarily because of the final. And also, it's 3 days after, so we knew it was a possibility. If Pep doesn't confirm penalty taker for next season, what will Haaland's price be? Must be taken account for. Nah, we'll just assume that Haaland's going to be on penalties, I think. And his price, I suspect they'll drop his price, but hopefully they don't drop it too much. I saw City fans blaming De Bruyne for the loss. He was actually good, or am I wrong? How much do you think Pep will rotate? Again, he'll probably rotate a little bit because it's Man City. How much, I don't know. I really don't know. Do I think De Bruyne starts? I guess I'm less confident now. But also, he could just start. I really don't think the last home game thing has as much effect as it usually would. Like, if City already had Champions League sewn up, then I think De Bruyne would definitely start. I'm not so sure it's a certainty this time around, just because of the situation they're in the league. This is my 2nd season playing FPL, currently just inside the top 20k, thanks to Konza coming on for ISAK. Konza on for ISAK. Like that. Look, I'm very happy for you. This is like that that meme where you've got like the happy face, but they're crying behind. I'm very happy for you that you get Konza off the bench. How jammy is that? A 15-pointed defender off the bench for ISAK. I'd love that. I'd love that jam. I mean, I've had some good luck the last few weeks. I'd love that though. And fair play if you stood firm and didn't sell Konza for a hit to get Watkins, because lots of people were thinking about doing that on the deadline stream. Would I captain Haaland if I had him? If I'm honest, I don't think he's the greatest captain this week. I think Saka, if he starts, is ahead. You could even argue maybe that Bournemouth players are as good as Haaland, if not slightly better maybe. But Fulham don't have a huge amount to play for now. And Haaland is a differential, so I don't hate it, but I wouldn't have him ahead of Salah, for example. But then Liverpool are going to be on the beach. Let's see how they do against Brighton tomorrow. I think 20 minutes to get an ovation for the last home game, then start versus Fulham is more likely. Yeah, I think it's more likely now that De Bruyne is benched, but who knows? What do you make of the Henderson handball? So I didn't sit down and watch the whole match because I was away. But I walked into a pub as the game was on, and I was going to the loo, and I stood still and watched Palace for a second because it was just before the goal. And they scored, and like the people, it wasn't really that busy inside because most people were sat outside because it was so sunny. But the people in the bar, there was this massive cheer, and I thought to myself, are they Crystal Palace fans? Probably not, because I'm in Sligo. Obviously, they just didn't want Man City to win. But yeah, I saw the handball. I don't know if anyone's come out and explained why it wasn't given, but presumably that should be a red card. Like, it's outside the box. Does Haaland go on and score? Probably. So I think they got a bit lucky. But if I'm honest, I'm not quite sure what the correct interpretation of the rule is. But I'm pretty sure he should have been sent off, and it was extremely lucky. But yeah, there wasn't many people supporting Man City. Let's just say that. Not in Sligo. Is ISAK, Rodgers to Evan Nielsen, Saka worth a -4? Probably not. I probably wouldn't take too many -4s this week. If if it's for captaincy, maybe you could just about justify it, but I'd try and avoid hits this week. They have explained, they said the ball was travelling backwards or something, so it wasn't a clear opportunity. They said Haaland was running away from goal. I don't think he was. He only went away from goal because the ball got slapped away from him. Why avoid hits? Because it's one game week. Like, generally, most people make hits because they've got like an issue, or they want to bring in a player that's really good for that week, but also good for the next few weeks. This week, you've got to pay it. The hit has to pay itself off straight away, and it's just much less likely to happen. They said because both feet inside the box. Did they? How did Mbermo miss a penalty? That was his first miss, right? From like 12, I think he's taken. So he's still got a pretty good record. I still have my free hit. Do I triple up on top 6 teams? No. I think you triple up from Bournemouth, Arsenal, if you can, because of the fixtures. Bowen, like I said, and then just pick 4 more. I want Saka, but the only way is to sell Isa. I mean, you could justify... I don't think you need to, though. You could just captain someone else. I probably wouldn't take that hit. Is Havertz back on the menu? Only with a leak, in my opinion. Do you think Bowen will be captained a lot? No, I don't, to be honest. But maybe. He has done really well recently, so possibly. Who has something to play for? Newcastle, Chelsea, Villa, Man City, Forest, Brentford, Brighton, and... Hang on, Bournemouth. I thought Harry's... Oh, hang on, I'm looking at goals scored instead of points once again. Yeah, Bournemouth as well. So and Fulham, I suppose, to be honest. Like, Fulham can still get 8th place as well, depending on other results. So I think anyone from 3rd to 11th still has something to play for. If I'm correct. Please someone correct me if that's wrong. Also, it's the showpiece game of the season. If you can find any room to keep it 11 versus 11, that's what you should do. No, I don't think you should not send someone off because it's the FA Cup final for like something that's pretty clear red card, I think. I do think that happens though. Like, there's often yellow card fouls in like the first 10 minutes that aren't given because it's in the first 10 minutes. So that does happen. But I felt like that was pretty clear. Like, he's outside the box. He's just smashed it away from Haaland. Haaland probably would have gone on and scored. Cunha and Rodgers out for Saka, captain, and Evan Nielsen -4. Yeah, we just spoke about that. Sure, if you want to justify it with captaincy, I think it's fine. But I would try and limit hits, to be honest. Or just Rodgers to Trossard, Martinez, Kluivert for free, captain Bowen. Yeah, I think I prefer that. Because I think Rodgers is fine this week, and Cunha probably is as well. Honestly, that Saka and Evan Nielsen hit, I reckon that's going to be the most asked question this week. And my answer is probably going to be, I don't hate it, but I probably wouldn't do it in most cases. Am I looking forward to the summer break? Always looking forward to the summer break. It doesn't matter if I was ranked top 1k right now, top 100, top 100k, top million, I'd be looking forward to the break. Arteta quote, it's time to go to the beach. Did he actually say that? I haven't seen... This is the only slight issue with like streaming straight after the game is you don't see the post-match comments. Oh, here we go. Eddie Howe on ISAK. Unknown if he's okay for next week. He felt a bit of stiffness after training yesterday. He went for a scan as a precaution. A lot will depend on how he reacts in the next few days. This is linked to a groin issue he had earlier on in the season. Yeah, he says that he doesn't know. If they can get ISAK on the pitch, surely they'll do it. They need Champions League. Well, he actually did say about the beach. Yeah, fair enough. If Saka's not an option, I guess I'm captaining Salah. I might just punt Evan Nielsen or someone like that. I'm not going to talk about Palace rotation anymore. We discussed it quite a bit already. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. We can't change things now. Am I going to do any content once the season ends? Not much, really. I think Isak's got another issue as well that he's having to have an operation for at the end of the season. I don't think it's like a major thing, but there's obviously another thing playing him up as well. I think it's different to the groin issue. Do you think that Arteta quote was about himself, though, because he got a yellow card? Possibly, but I do, it's been a long season for Arsenal, and especially the last few weeks, I guess, have been quite probably mentally draining, so there's no reason they won't rotate. Arteta's already booked Benidorm. Ryanair flight leaving next Sunday. Possibly. Didn't watch the game, but Vardy scored for me. Did the shirt come off? I don't think he's got a yellow card, right? So, any new people on the wall? If there is, it'll be Jose Sarr, I think. Will Vardy play next week? No. Isak to Evan Nielsen should be okay, right, given the Isak doubts. If he's out, but he might not be out. So, relax on that. Relax on that. 9-point gap to catch top 10k. Is it possible? Yes. But it'll be difficult in 1 week to catch that, but it's definitely doable. I'm not, for 9 points, I'm not even sure you need to go massively differential. I think you just have to hope that everything goes right for you. Like, for example, if you thought that Salah is absolutely the standout captain in Game Week 38, I wouldn't think I've got to chase 9 points, so I'm going to go different. I'd probably just go for Salah in that case and just hope that everything else works out. We'd love to see more of the vlog content over the summer. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. As I always say, my life is not that interesting, I don't think, to vlog. I honestly think my better bet would be to go short form stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if I've got it in me. You know how people say, sometimes, not all the time, they'll sometimes ask me if I still enjoy playing FPL. And I think the answer has to be yes, because it's really difficult to create content on something you don't enjoy. And I do enjoy doing the videos on the other channel, but not enough where, for now anyway, where I've been super consistent with it. Whereas for FPL, I just find it super easy. Partly because a lot of the content just writes itself, but also just because I really enjoy playing still, no matter how good or bad it goes. The penultimate need... No, this is not the penultimate knee-jerk stream. That was last week. Is there a fantasy for Club World Cup? I suspect there will be, but I don't think it's been released or anything yet. Will I play it? I think I'll only play it if I make content around it. Otherwise, I'll probably just skip it completely. I think it'll also be more difficult than for the Euros and World Cup, there's always that learning phase for fantasy about, who's nailed for certain countries and stuff like that. But generally, quite a few of the players. I think for the Club World Cup, because there's so many players from around the globe, there's probably teams that I've never really heard of, like a couple. So, yeah, I don't know. Probably not, but we'll see. Thanks for a great season. You always answer as many questions as you can. Appreciate that. P.S. I told you Palace will win. So happy for them. I was very happy for them as well. Obviously, I wanted them to win. So yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for joining me all season. Do we not get an end of season knee-jerk? You do, to be fair. So I guess this is the penultimate one, but I don't see it as penultimate because the knee-jerk for after the season is a little bit different to all the other ones, right? Denzel Dumfries, great player for fantasy. Assuming De Bruyne does start versus Bournemouth, would you keep and play versus Fulham or sell to Saka? I'd probably sell if you've got nothing else to do. Am I wary of troll accounts at Gameweek 38 deadline? I mean, always, but I feel like I've got most of the common ones blocked at this point. Like, ultimately, if there's news if there's news for Gameweek 38, you make a decision about how trustworthy it is. If it's an account you don't know, then obviously you assign a lot more risk to it. But for the most part, you can probably work out if it's legit or not. And I think, yeah, and sometimes people will say, well, who should I follow? I don't necessarily have a list, but I guess if you're on the deadline stream, I'll be discussing it and I'll let you know how confident I am in it. Like sometimes I'll say something like, they've said this, are we 100% sure? No, but I would probably make a move based on this info. Something like that. Best team to target in 38. Probably Bournemouth because they've got something to play for, but I still really like Arsenal because I think whichever team they put out will obviously be in a really good position to win pretty comfortably. Is Pickford to Raya a luxury move for Game Week 38? Yes. I think goalkeeper transfers are also very boring, especially for 1 week. But you might have a team that is perfect for Game Week 38, and if that's your best move, go for it. You can tell by number of followers. I'm not sure that's always the best indicator, but sometimes. Who gets benched for Arsenal? It's a dead game. Well, this is the thing, right? You're going to have to hope for some leaks or some indication from managers. I'll set expectations right. You are not going to get the lineup for every team in Game Week 38. There is a chance to get more news than normal. And sometimes you even hear managers in press conferences say something like, he will play or he will get a game. Like it might be like a big differential or something. So you might get the odd snippet of information. The problem is it might not be from a team you want it from. So, let's say Kieran McKenna comes out and says X is going to start for Ipswich. You're like, well, I don't care about that, right? Because it's Ipswich. You want it from like Bournemouth, Arsenal, etc. But just wait. Like this week more than any other week, probably don't make an early transfer. Like I really just wouldn't bother. Try and just relax this week and wait until 38 because all the teams play at once. So if you're ever going to get multiple bits of team information, it's this week. And price doesn't matter at this point. Okay, fair enough. If you've got a move you 100% want to do and you're going to get priced out, maybe you could go early in that case, but I'd really try and not do that. Saints didn't have a shot until around the 65th minute. Yeah, they're not very good. Would you bring in Haaland for Marmoush with no hit, but it won't let me get Saka? Possibly if you're chasing quite a bit, yeah. Is Reece James going to be in our 11s to start next season? I'm not sure what it would take for me to trust Reece James as an FPL pick, to be honest. Quite a bit. I'd want to see him start multiple games. I don't think he's particularly attacking anymore anyway, even when he does play. Do I think Palmer holds price next season? In my opinion, there's no reason to drop Palmer's price. Zero reason at all. He's gone 244 points in his first season at Chelsea, and he's followed that up with 211. And it's still a game to go, right? So let's say he gets a goal. I know you can't imagine Cole Palmer scoring a goal. I get it, right? But let's just imagine he puts the ball in the back of the net, gets a couple of bonus, finishes on 220. There is no reason even without the goal, right? Let's say he blanks and finishes on 213. There is no... I think... I just don't know what people are smoking if they think he's not worth the money. 244, then 213 points. We're talking Salah levels of consistency over 2 seasons with really good underlying numbers. He's nailed. He's on penalties. He's not a premium. What are you talking about? He's literally a premium player. Yes, he's blanked a lot recently. I get it. A lot of those points were earlier on in the season. That can happen. I think it's madness to think his price should be dropped. In my opinion, I think you can make a case to raise it. He was 10.5 million. He's backed up his first season with another really good season. I think he's easily an £11 million player. And I know everyone will hate that take, especially because of the points recently, but he is. You can't drop players' prices who have done what Palmer has done, because if he gets back to that same level we've seen for most of the last 2 seasons, then all of a sudden you've got a player that's too cheap. There's no reason to lower his price. Haaland's price might get lowered a little bit, like 0.5 or something like that. Honestly, I think everyone that we're all entitled to our opinion. My opinion is you're talking nonsense if you think he should be like reduced to 9.5. It's absolute nonsense. 200 plus points is not easy to hit. He's done it 2 seasons in a row. And there's nothing to say he can't do it again next year. His underlying stats are great. He's nailed. He's on penalties. I'll die on this hill that Palmer's price should not be decreased. I think Saka and Palmer should both be 11 next year. I think Salah should be 14 and Haaland should probably be 13 minimum. Like, it shouldn't go any lower than that, but I think he should be like 13.5 or 14. If Antony comes back to Man United, will he be 15 million? Probably. Maybe 16. Recency bias on Palmer. Exactly. That's all it is. People can't see past the last kind of couple of months. Like they'll want Bowen to be like 11 million because he's done well the last 6 weeks. Foden certainly needs a drop. Does he? What did he start on? 9.5. I mean, he will get dropped, almost certainly, if they do the prices as they have done the last few seasons. But obviously, Mark's there now. Who knows? He started, 9.5. Maybe they drop him to 9, I guess. Rodgers will not be 10 million. Not in a million years. Rodgers, for me, feels like a classic 7.5. That's what I think he'll go up to. So he was 5 million this year. I think he goes to 7.5. Maybe 7? I don't know, actually. I think I overestimate how much they'll put players' prices up, to be honest. Like, if you look at Eze, for example, what did he get last year? He got 136 points, 159 the season before that, and he was 7 million. So sometimes you need context, right? If they price certain players at a certain price, then you can kind of determine what other players will be. I think Rodgers should be like a 7.5, but actually now I think of it, I think they might go 7, similar to Eze. Possibly 6.5, yeah, but I think 7 minimum. I think in Burmo is going to be 8.5. I think he's a classic 8.5 player, similar to Bruno Fernandes. Now, in Burma won't be 10 million. By the way, this is why I think it's madness that people think Palmer's price should be dropped. Like, we got shouts for 10 million for Burma. He's not that far ahead of Palmer in terms of points. Like, they should probably look at underlying stats when they make these calls on price as well. I'd have it Burma 8.59 million, but we'll see. Don't justify... Oh, God. Wood will be 9.5. Honestly, here's my take for next season. I think I've already given this a couple of weeks ago. Chris Wood's price will be increased because of this season, and it'll be increased to a point where he is just not worth it whatsoever. I'm going to guarantee it now. Chris Wood will not be in my team next season at the start. Unless Forest have like super ridiculous fixtures to start the season. I think his price will go up because of this year, and he just won't be worth it. I think it'll be similar to Mateta. I think compared to other players at the start of the season, Mateta was a bit expensive. Is Bruno leaving Man United if they lose on Wednesday? I doubt it. Maguire will be the most expensive defender. I don't think Bruno will go up in price. He scored 20 goals. I get it, but he's massively overperformed. So is Burma, by the way. That's why I don't think Burma should be 10. Arsenal new striker price prediction. Depends who it is, right? Chris Wood is never going to get close to 20 goals next season. Not a chance. I'll die on this hill. I mean, at this point, I'm almost dead because of my Chris Wood takes. But I'm still going. Munoz won't be 6.5. He'll probably be 5.5, I reckon. Okay, we got any other non-price questions or discussion? This always happens at the end of the season. Always happens at the end of the season. Frimpong at 5.5 could be crazy value. I thought Connor Bradley was the next big thing. I wonder how they'll price defenders now that Trent is gone. I think some defenders need a bit of a price increase, but we'll see. What do we do with Marmoush? Take him out even for a hit? I would probably not do that. He just started the final, right? If he starts midweek, there's nothing to say he won't start 38, so I don't know if I would take a hit. I don't think there's loads of great forwards this week either that necessarily require hits. Mbeumo is probably doing a Bowen 200 plus one season regression the next. Yeah, exactly. He's an 8. I think he's classic 8.5 in Mbeumo. The difference is at Brentford he's nailed and on penalties. That's the difference with Bowen. Bowen's obviously nailed but not on penalties. Not usually anyway. But Mbeumo might move. Mbeumo might move clubs and that might have an impact. Like I don't think this will happen, but let's say Mbeumo goes to Man United. Well, all of a sudden he loses penalties. Chris Wood won't get 10 goals next season. Nah, now we're being too harsh. I think Chris... This is the funny thing, how, like... You know, if you were watching my channel like 4 or 5 seasons ago, I had Chris Wood in my team at a time when lots of people didn't. And, like, he's a good Premier League striker. I'm really not saying he's bad, but 20 goals is ridiculous. Like, he's more of a kind of 10, maybe to 14. 10 to 12 most of the time, probably. Why would Mbeumo downgrade to Man United? Great question. Yeah, Chris Wood is really good. I think people... I'm purely talking about FPL, right? Pretty much all the time. And for me, Chris Wood just won't be worth it. But does that mean he's a bad Premier League striker for Forest? Absolutely not. The guy's been great. Like last season... I thought he scored 20 last season. I was looking at the wrong thing. It was 14 last season. Then you look at his kind of you look at his seasons at Burnley, 10, 10, 14, 12. He's a really solid forward. I've had this conversation before on stream. Chris Wood regularly hit 15 goals a season, even at Burnley. He never hit 15 in the Premier League. He's on, let me see what the FPL site has him on. 12.5 XG and 20 goals. Like, okay, here you go. So last season he put up 11.71 XG in... No, that can't be right. That cannot be right. Wow, that is right. Last season he put up 11.71 XG in 1,800 minutes. This season he's put up 12.5, which is like, what, 0.8 more, in 2,800 minutes. So 1,000 more minutes. But not that many more chances, but he scored 6 more goals. Maybe it is just the Nuno and Forest effect. Maybe he's just that good. Yeah, Forest in Europe will also probably dent them as FPL options. Ahmad price next season 6.5, maybe around that, yeah. 6.57 possibly. Our Palace attack is that bad against Liverpool. Feel like I'll have other issues to deal with. Again, you know, are they worth hits to get rid of? Possibly not. But I don't think they're that great against Liverpool, put it that way. I remember when Son was well outperforming his numbers. Some players are just stats breakers. Yeah, but I don't think, like with Chris Wood, he's what, 32, 33? Yeah, he's 33. He'll be 34 next December. Like, has he really become a stats buster at the age of 33? Or is he just had one of those seasons where everything's gone right? If I was a betting man, I would probably say it's just one of those seasons. Am I keeping Palmer? Hopefully not, but let's see what happens to the rest of my team. Spurs and Man United players will be cheap as chips next season. I mean, they already kind of are, right? There's not really that many expensive Man United and Spurs players. My man Kukurea seems to be the best captain. I'm not sure about that. If Newcastle get Champions League, can't see ISAK moving. Yeah, we'll have to wait. I mean, the problem with trying to buy ISAK is it will cost a lot of money. Who do we think will start this week, Areola or Fabianski? I mean, probably Areola, right? Does it really matter if Fabianski plays the final game away to Ipswich? I think if Fabianski was going to get a final game, it would have been today, right? At home, surely. Why am I thinking of dumping Palmer? That was kind of the plan when I brought him in. Like, Forest away is not an amazing fixture. There's plenty of midfielders with better games, so we'll see. Oh, yeah, Arteta says Saliba felt something in his hamstring in the first half. Yeah, that's a bit of a killer. I mean, if I had to guess now, Saliba ain't playing against Southampton. That's a fair point. Areola did make quite a big mistake, but I still, like, Fabianski even came out, I think, in an interview and said he's a bit disappointed not to have played today. So I'm not convinced he's going to play next week, but that is a good point. Yeah, if I was guessing now, I don't think Saliba's going to start. That is a proper spanner in the works. If Cunha goes to Man United, will he be listed as a forward? Good question. I don't know, but I think he shouldn't be listed as a forward. I think if you go by how FPL have traditionally chosen whether a player is a forward or a midfielder, I'm not going to get into a discussion about whether they should or shouldn't do it like that. I'm just saying I'm going into a discussion about how they have done it. Cunha is more of a midfielder than a forward. He doesn't play number 9 that often. And so for FPL, he should be a midfielder. And he probably wouldn't play number 9 for Man United either. Do we sell Saliba? Look, that question is not a straight yes or no. You have to decide what the bigger impact is on your team. Is selling Saliba to a different defender a better use of a transfer than... Like for me, right, let's say I had no issues apart from Saliba and Palmer, who I wanted to sell. Am I better off doing Palmer to a midfielder like Kluivert, Saka, etc. and playing Nico Williams? Or am I better playing Palmer and selling a defender? It's probably a close call, and I'd probably lean more towards the attacker. But I'm telling you now, by next Sunday, I could be sat here saying, well, not now, maybe a few hours before the deadline, I could be sat here saying, do you know what? I'm just going to keep Palmer. He's definitely going to start. I don't know if Saka will. This is what I'm predicting, right? This is what I'm saying. Yeah, I was looking at Saka, but do you know what? They've got Champions League. I don't know if he's going to play. Palmer has to play. So I'm going to keep him. I'm just going to sell a defender instead. And that might be what happens. You can see Forest keeping a clean sheet. I'm not so sure, you know. Their defensive numbers are dropping a bit. They have been for a little while. But that's the annoying thing. Yeah, but the thing... Yeah, so I would either play Nico Williams or I would play Palmer if ISAK is fine. I don't think I would play both because I would want to use my last transfer somewhere. I don't necessarily have an ISAK problem. We'll see. The Europa League final is 3 days away. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of not think about it too much because I can't help but worry about how bad it's going to be if we lose to Spurs. I'm honestly thinking about skipping the Saka move now he hasn't looked good. Honestly, I think... Look, fair enough, right? But all I need to know is whether Saka's starting or not. If Saka starts against Southampton, he's a good pick. And I don't... You know, I don't care how he's looked. I don't care how he looks against Newcastle. It's not as difficult to play against Southampton as it is against Newcastle. I understand what people are saying. Obviously, he was on a long-term injury, etc. And look, he's not going to be a 90-minute man. He probably will get subbed early, even if he starts. So I think there probably is merit in not going there. But if you tell me right now Saka starts against Southampton, then automatically that just makes him a good pick. But you've got one of the worst teams the Premier League has ever seen. Anyone who starts against them is a good pick. Do you have AC in your house for summer? I can see lights in your forehead. No offense intended. No, that's my lights to light my room/office for the green screen. So if I turn them off, then you can see the green screen doesn't work properly. Unfortunately, just because of the way my office is kind of laid out and I can't really change it, I have to have the lights kind of in front of me so they kind of reflect quite a lot off my big forehead. Just realised Kivior 7 points and Milenkovic 8 on my bench. Don't mind a Munoz, Vardiol benching. Yeah, Vardiol probably not going to happen, but Munoz, we'll see. I think Forest finished bottom half next year. You said it, not me. I think they'll be competing in around 10th or 11th if nothing much changes from this season. But maybe a little bit higher. But I don't think they'll be pushing for Europe all season like they did last year. But they'll sign players, especially if they get Champions League. And yeah, we don't tend to have air conditioning. I have got a fan on though. My wife bought me that a couple of Christmases ago, I think, and it's great because you guys can't hear it. It keeps me cool. If Wirtz goes to City, he's an immediate lock game week 1. He would definitely be up there. But my advice would be right now going into next season is try not to have too many rules about who has to be locked or who you're not going for. Try and be open-minded. Price will dictate your decisions. Fixtures will dictate your decisions. And obviously opportunity cost. Like if you go for Wirtz, who are you not having in your team? Like let's say I've got one place left in my team and the fixtures are similar and I can choose Wirtz or Saka. I'm not so sure I would go Wirtz. Like Saka, we know what we're getting, right? So am I going Chris Wood game week 1? No, I want players with good stats, and I don't see me going Chris Wood. Yeah, it does sound like Wirtz is probably going to Bayern Munich, but we'll see. You never know. Do you think they scrap or tweak the assistant manager chair? I don't. My general feeling would be they won't scrap it because they put too much time into it. Am I doing a full suit watch along for the final week? I probably won't do a watch along, but suit for the final deadline stream possibly. Yeah. The thing is, I think everyone just does the suits now, so it's not as, I don't know. Maybe I'll just rock up in a polo shirt or something. Maybe I'll go casual, casual instead. Next season, FPL will be very interesting. This transfer window will be massive for all clubs. Honestly, I think FPL is always quite interesting at the start of the season. It's one of the best periods of the season, right? Because you've got that hope that next season will be the one. You can choose any player you want. And also you've had a bit of a... I think the break's good. I think the break's really good because you come back, you're more in... Like, if we went straight into next season, but oh God, we're going straight back into FPL. I think the enforced break is good for everyone. Rock up in a Galway GAA top. I don't own one, unfortunately. Liverpool will be having a huge summer, apparently. I mean, they're being pretty quick on Frimpong. If FPL offered you a top 50k finish now versus take the risk of trying to get to 50k organically plus a free appearance on the official FPL show, if you reach 50k, what would you do? The free appearance. I've been on the FPL show before. No, I would want to try and get it myself, wouldn't I? Next season for FPL feels like when Ronaldo and Lukaku came back to the Premier League. In terms of just mass changes, you mean? What's a realistic expectation for Man United next season? Honestly, I think... I don't want to get into this too much on an FPL stream, but I think Man United is quite worrying. Almost whether they win on Wednesday or not, but especially if they don't win. Because the money won't be there as much. And I like Amorim, and I'm not... I think Man United fans in general are just not quick to want managers fired. But my worry is he wants to play a back three, which I do not have a problem with. My concern is whichever one... Oh, I don't know how to articulate. Whichever one of Spurs or Man United... I think right now this is like acceptance to forget about what's happened in the league because they're in the Europa League final. And I get that, right? That's the focus. But whoever loses, they've had an unbelievably bad season. And I think it's getting brushed a little bit aside. So let's say Spurs win. What a ridiculously bad season for Man United. But I don't think they'll fire Amorim. And I don't necessarily think they should. But then they're going to recruit for his system. And if he doesn't start the season well, he's going to get fired. And then you've recruited for a back three system. Now, players are versatile, right? I'm not saying you buy a player, they can never play in a 4-3-3 or whatever. But you might have slightly different profiles. So I think it's worrying. Man United might not have the money to make massive signings, They might back a manager that will have to get fired next year, and then they'll bring someone in who have a who wants to play a different way. So it's just, I think it's worrying. Anyway, the players are to blame, in my opinion, seem to show up in cup games when it benefits them, but down tools the rest of the time. Yeah, but there's also just this mentality around the club right now that the Europe's all that matters. If United are in the Champions League next year, they get torn apart. Yeah, look, I know, people don't want to hear about XG this, XG conceded that, and stuff like that. But all you have to, I said this when Ten Hag was kept on after the FA Cup. Like, you go and look at the Man United stats, they're really bad. And eventually that catches up with you. It's the same reason I don't think right now, if nothing changes for Forest next year, it's why I don't think they'll be pushing for Europe. Because the stats just aren't there for them to continue this. It's the same with Man United when Ten Hag was there. They kept him on, even though the stats were saying this is going to go badly soon. This is exactly what happened. And that's why I don't think, like, Man United are not, as it stands, going to be pushing for Europe next year. They're just not good enough. Nowhere near. But we'll see. We'll see. It could be, maybe we beat Spurs, Champions League, lots of money spent. Happy days. I know it's big for both, of course, but who do you think the Europa League final is a bigger game for? I think it's big for both. Like, I don't think anyone should ever, like, discount trophies, to be honest. Like, look at Palace. Like, it'll still mean a massive amount to win the Europa League. Okay. Couple more questions, then I am shooting off. Oh, no. Should I sell Eze and Saliba to Kluivert and Kivior? That sounds pretty good to me right now, but I think don't make any rash decisions. Try and save your transfers till the end of the week. Get press conferences and stuff out of the way first. And also, we've got 2 more matches to go as well, which might have some bearing on your decisions. I imagine a Bournemouth player goes and gets injured or something. Is it worth bearing in mind Amorim hasn't had a Yeah, look, I don't want to get into the Man United chat too much because it's not that interesting for FPL. I'm not saying he should be fired. I'm saying I think it's worrying what could happen. Because you're backing someone who plays a certain way. There ain't many 3 at the back managers out there. 3 more matches to go. Good point. Yeah, imagine you make your transfers and then Salah goes and gets injured. So yeah, definitely hold your transfers. How would you rate this FPL season? For me, subpar, I would say. Choose between top 50k finish or Man United. UEL win. Obviously Man United. Did Saka look good? Not particularly great, I would say. Saliba to Trent if Saliba's confirmed out. I would need to see a leak for Trent because I think as it stands, I'd probably predict Bradley to start. My bench boost 38 not looking great with ISAK Saliba. The one thing I would say is you can't use your bench boost any other week. For me, if you've got players out on a bench boost, you've got a very easily justifiable -4. So I think it's annoying. I get it. You don't want to take those hits, but I would definitely take them. Okay, I'm going to leave it there because I think there's just a lot of questions about next season, which I'm more than happy to talk about. It's probably better for next week's stream when the season's kind of done. I think for now, obviously, people are still thinking about transfers and stuff like that. So I will save anything else for videos this week. I don't know if there's going to be a video tomorrow. Remember, the deadline's not till Sunday, so we've got quite a bit of time to talk about stuff. And ultimately, there's going to be a lot of questions around very similar players. We're all going to be looking at Bournemouth, Bowie, and Arsenal in particular. So we will see. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If you did enjoy that one, make sure to give it a like. Hit that subscribe button as well. Thank you for all your support this season. As always, I want to get that in now before everyone takes a break next week. I'll probably say that every video this week. But yeah, I'm going to leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your day. Hopefully the rest of the games are good for you and me, of course. And I will catch you soon.